At some point we just need to be honest with the people of Illinois for once. There is no reason under the sun the government spending in this state should have increased by 45% since 2019, since Governor Pritzker got in there. It's well above the rate of inflation. And let's look at the state of affairs here in the state of Illinois. Our GDP growth is stagnant. There's more businesses closing than starting. Our population continues to decline, no matter what the governor and all these other folks say. But at the end of the day, the budget that we see here, at least that I've seen here since 2019. They're not serious documents. It's fiscal fantasy. It's not. It takes zero into account the actual dire fiscal circumstances that we're in, and that's just what we hear. That's what we get. So we're sitting here this week. We may see a budget today. We may see a budget tomorrow. We may need to see a budget tonight. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because it's all fake. It really is. It's smoke and mirrors. It's misdirection. These leaders, Senator Harmon and Welch and the governor, there's a reason that they can't get this together, that they can't come up with answers, because there are no easy answers. They've made sure of that with the policies that they've pushed. It's all misdirection from the massive hole that's been blown into budget by J.B. Pritzker's severe mismanagement over his reign here. What I can guarantee you when this so-called budget comes out, there's not going to be any structural reforms in it. There's not going to be any hard choices made. They're all just going to be kicked down the road, and the Illinois citizens are going to have to continue to pay the price, continue to suffer for a government that is inept. They care more about their own preservations and J.B. Pritzker's political fantasies than they do the actual working people of Illinois. The only cuts that I've seen around here since I've been in office are political cuts. Political cuts for their special interest buddies, like the Invest in Kids program that was a great program that wasn't near big enough, that was actually helping people that need help in this state. But J.B. Pritzker got rid of it because his political buddies don't like it, and that's what matters. But we're spending beyond our means. We're growing government at a pace that's completely unsustainable, and we always place the burden squarely on the working families and the actual job creators that are already, they're tapped out, and they have been for a long time. There's no long-term plan in place. It's just another round of gimmicks, short-term gimmicks, tax hikes, which, contrary to what Governor Pritzker said, that he doesn't support those things. I think we could name off several of them, tax and fee increases that he's done over his tenure that disproportionately are burden the people that can afford it least. And handouts to ultimately prop up a system that is completely unsustainable, and that's what we've got here. The worst thing is there's people in this building, even on the other side of the aisle, that they know that this stuff isn't sustainable. They know the path that we're on. They call it a fiscal cliff. I call it a fiscal death spiral. But the Democrat power structure, they silence any voices that actually disagree with this, that want to stand up for a little bit of fiscal sanity. I mean, they're not even standing up for a lot, just a little here. But, look at what they did to Fred Crespo. He puts forth a couple ideas that, aren't really revolutionary, and gets silence, kicked off his committees and everything else. We need serious reforms in this state. More spending is not going to cut it. Structural reforms, not short-term bailouts. Let's stop pretending that tax revenue from the actual people that work in this state is infinite, or that the exodus from Illinois isn't real, because it is real. Families, retirees, businesses, they're voting with their feet and they're leaving. We need to focus on reducing the size of government. We really need to focus on getting the government the heck out of the way. If we did that in Illinois, that'd make a big difference. That would encourage economic growth. We need smart deregulation, especially in things like energy, which we have abundance of in Illinois, which we used to export, and it used to to be a big reason that manufacturers came and built things here, you know, because if we're going to save Illinois, we need to build things in Illinois, but they're not going to do it because every policy that we push encourages them to get out of here. And the one advantage that we had with all of this nonsense is what energy was cheap, and they killed that too. You know, so that all of this stuff is man-made. Illinois's got great advantages. The only reason that we don't thrive is because we got a government that's mismanaged, that's out of control. It can be solved by putting, by electing leaders that are actually going to do their job and make some tough choices. That we don't need to bring the legislature back this summer for more money. We don't need to be screaming about Donald Trump and the things that he's doing. And we don't need to raise our taxes. We need to get our act together. It's time the Illinois legislature and the governor get serious and be adults and think about cutting the fat, because there's plenty of it.